Hi there, and welcome to this Liquibase training video. The topic of this video is how to control deployments with contexts and labels. So we're going to cover what labels and contexts are, how we assign labels to changes, and how we use labels at deployment time frame to make sure we get the right changes to the right place. And finally, we'll do an example in one of our demo environments. All right. So labels and contexts are used to control which changes should go where. They enable us to manage groups of change sets, groups of databases, and then define which of those change sets should be on which particular database. Now they operate in a pretty straightforward manner. A label or a context are essentially arbitrary strings of text associated with one or more change sets. They're effectively tags on the change set that allow us to track and manage the database changes that we're dealing with. Now, the labels are about grouping the change sets themselves. They allow me to selectively group them, decide which ones I'm going to deploy for any given operation, track those deployed changes, which environments they're in, and fundamentally build a left-to-right workflow around groups of changes, which is great, but I also need to know the context of those changes at any given point in time. That's why we have two different constructs here. Contexts deal with where changes should be applied. Taking that a step further, when you think about the context of any given situation, if you put yourself in the context of any managed database, right, you have to know really three things. Is, okay, what are the full set of changes that could be applied to this managed database? For all of the changes that are available, which ones should be in a particular or a given database? So I've got 10 databases. Which changes should be applied to any of those databases? And then for any given database that I'm talking about, which changes actually are present? Right? So if I'm in the context of a single database, what changes should be here, what changes actually are here, and which ones are missing? I have to answer that question with every operation against that database, every time I check the status of that database. Between the two, that gives us a coordinate system. I can create groups of database using a label, so I can label all of the databases in a line and declare them a pipeline. Maybe that corresponds to a development branch. Doesn't really matter, but I can group them for whatever reason I need to and say this is the pipeline of databases associated with this branch or this release or whatever. And changes that don't have this label are simply ignored. We don't worry about them for these for this set of databases. And then, but if it is present, then I can look at context. Which of the databases associated with pipeline 2 should have these changes? What's the context I'm working on at a particular time? Or if I'm examining the changes within a database, what's my context? What should my expectation be? Because it's going to be different between an early database and a later database. So that's why we have two different coordinate sets. I can define all of these things to understand what database and what set of broad expectations I should have for it, and then I can drill down into specific labels and specific groups of changes. Labels, like any tagging system, are an extremely powerful way of grouping changes. So if we look at a kind of larger example, we would see that here are groups of changes that have been applied, groups of SQL files that have been applied into our change log. And we've labeled them with different things. So I've got a release label here that says January 2020. Well, that would be the first 5 or 4 change sets in the list here would be deployed. If I wanted all of them, I would have to include the hotfix label. And that's assuming I'm deploying with a release label. If I was deploying with just the pipeline label, I would get them all every time, which might be great in an early environment, but probably less good as we start talking about later environments and towards production, right? So, and this is, again, context matters. In the context of the dev database, I might want to always be current in that tip. As I get further through QA, I may want to subdivide things so that they are properly circumscribed, and I don't get stuff for that maybe for a later release prematurely into a late environment. Finally, labels are scopable, right? So they do have Boolean logic associated with them, and by default they are greedy. So if the label is on any given change set, it is tagged and it will be deployed. So you have to kind of watch out for that and be specific and intentional about what you bring and what you take, because it will default to an AND behavior. All right. So our example today is that we're going to go ahead and create two change sets. The first one will be, they'll both be in pipeline 1. They'll both be associated with a release we're calling our May release. But each of them will be for a different feature, so they'll each have a different ticket. We're going to go ahead and deploy them. So as you might expect, all of the pipeline 1 changes are going into the sandbox so everybody sees the latest. Then we'll go ahead and do deployment to dev 1 using the release tag. And of course, that's going to bring the same too. Right? And then finally, we'll do a deployment with just the Jira 102 label into our test environment and kind of watch the progression of the changes as they go through. The process for adding these is pretty straightforward. If you've seen some of the other videos, you're probably familiar with creating SQL file change sets. We're going to go through, create a SQL file change set using the same process we've discussed using the wizard. When we get to the metadata, though, we're going to be a little bit more intentional about the labels that we apply. We're going to include the set of pipeline tags as we discussed in our example slide, and then illustrate how we deploy through these with the associated labels to our different contexts and DB defs. All right, so with that in mind, we're going to jump over into the demo environment and walk this through in a real scenario. Okay, so we've jumped over into our demo environment over here, and we're going to begin with the process by adding our change sets like we described in the slides. So we're going to jump into the change set wizard. We're in a SQL Server environment, so we select SQL command, bring our change in, put in our metadata here for the project, the ID, the author, and then of course what we're working on here, which is the labels. So we assign it a pipeline label. We wanted to specify something for our May release, and let's say a ticket of Jira 101. Okay, so we've assigned it those labels. We can review them in this box here. They look good. We'll go ahead and specify a rollback, because again, it is always best practice to make sure you can back out what you put in. Go ahead and click finish. Now let's add our second one. Same process. Get the forward change in. Give it the core metadata and manage our labels. Pipeline 1, same release, different ticket. All right, awesome. And we'll specify our rollback for the change. Very nice. Okay, so I've created the two change sets. I'm going to update my pipeline status here. It's obviously showing me my undeployed changes in this pipeline, and I can go in here and look at the status of things. Okay, so here are all my deployed change sets from this change log. If If I go to the undeployed tab, here are the ones I just added. I can look at the labels, and you can see pipeline 1, the release, and the different JIRA tickets. I also would see anything that was not labeled for this context. So remember, I'm in the context of my sandbox environment. You can see that up here. So for this database, the sandbox database, these are the changes that are deployable to it. They could be deployed here. We'll make a decision of whether they should or should not, but it's going to tell me, hey, these changes are eligible. If I want to deploy them, I can do so. It will also tell me any that are ineligible. So for example, here I can see there are a couple of other changes in the changelog that are not eligible for this context, right? This context is pre-labeled with pipeline 1, and these changes, the only label they have associated with them is pipeline 2. So while they are out there, they're in the changelog, they should never show up. They're not targeted in any way towards this sandbox environment. So the tool marks them as ignored. All right, so let's go ahead and do some deployments and see what kinds of controls the change set labels will give me. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to click deploy with options. Now this triggers the default behavior. The defaults here are the same as if I just clicked the deploy button. So what it will by default do, say what's the pipeline label, and anything labeled with that pipeline would then be deployed unless I change the targeting in some way. So let's go ahead and do that. We'll deploy our 2 changes. Runs the changes out into the environment. I've now got fully deployed on this environment or in this context, and I get my successful deployment report. So that brings this current. There would be nothing undeployed here underneath this context because I just said pipeline 1, it's going to take everything so tagged. Okay, same kind of thing. I'm going to go to the dev context, click deploy with options, but this time I'm going to replace the label with release May. So this is the release label. So if I were to say, okay, well, we want to put into the dev environment everything for the May release, at least to this point, so that we always know that the May release is current. And that might be a subset of what's in this pipeline. If you think about it, there may be some things in the sandbox that are not, in the end, going to make it into the release. So that's cool. So I want to just focus on the on these. Click finish. And this is really going to do about the same thing. I'm going to get the changes deployed. There's no difference in the scoping at this point in time between the release and pipeline tags for the increment. If I click the link underneath, again, nothing is undeployed. And the same 2 for pipeline 2 are ignored. We're about where we expect. Now say once I get through dev that the May release, we're having some problems with a couple of the features. We don't want to deploy them all yet. So I only want to deploy one of the tickets. So I'm going to go to deploy with options. And this time when I configure, I'll just say JIRA 102. For some reason, the change associated with JIRA 101 isn't working. Maybe the feature's not ready and we don't want to move the database changes yet. Whatever the reason, I don't want everything moving this time. I just want the individual one. So I say, okay, just JIRA 102. I click finish. The deployment happens. I only have one change through this time. And when I look at the status, I still have some undeployed changes. If I come into the context for the QA environment and click under its undeployed tab, in this context, one of the changes is not deployed. And of course, as you would expect and from our discussion, it's the one associated with JIRA 101. So even though these labels are true, pipeline 1 and release May are true, these changes are eligible for this environment. That's why they show up as undeployed rather than ignored. We never actually issued a deploy command in this context for either pipeline 1 or release May. We only issued for, in this context, the command for Jira 102. We only used the Jira 102 label. And in that scenario, that's the only change that got deployed. This one stays undeployed until I make a decision at some point in time to bring it into the fold, or maybe not. Maybe I requalify it and say it's not going to make it. And I change these labels to release June or something like that. It could happen. So you do have that kind of granularity of control, and you can do those kinds of exercises. So this is a pretty powerful thing. It bears playing with as you learn the tool, but it gives you a great deal of control over what goes where in your environments, which changes go to which environment, and ensure that you know exactly how things are flowing through your different environments or contexts as you get your database changes ready to go to production. Thank you for watching this Liquibase educational video. We certainly hope it was helpful. And if you have any questions or need any more information, please feel free to reach out to us through our website or various social media outlets. Thanks again. Have a good day.